welcome back to the San Diego Spotlight, where we shine the light on business leaders around San Diego County and inform and empower you as a consumer right here in our lovely city. I'm your host, Elizabeth Story, bringing you the inside story. All right, we're back with Dr. Eric Bean, mental performance coach, and we are talking about training your mind for elite performance. Dr. Bean has an impressive Rolodex of sports clients that include NCAA Division I athletics, elite junior athletics, and a multitude of sports and the Michigan State field hockey team. But he also works with other industries as well. What are some of the other exciting industries that you work with, Dr. Bean?
Yeah, well, the thing about performance psychology is anybody can really benefit from it. Whatever your performance is, whether that's a big sales pitch, whether that's in the boardroom. So I'm pretty broad in that regard. So I've worked with, as we mentioned, Navy SEALs. I've worked with Army soldiers and all different ranks and approaches to being a soldier. Like we mentioned, surgeons, and then of course athletics as well.
So I really want to talk about the SEALs. Now those are people who have pushed their body to the limits of what you can physically do as a human being, and they actually have to do that to become a Navy SEAL. How is it different working with somebody that has to go to such extreme limits?
Well, one of the things about that is, I think the challenge is getting them to understand, well, what is the limit? When do I stop? Do I stop? How do I decide when is it right to push and when is it right to back off? And I think the Navy SEAL training program, they do a great job of getting people to understand you can do more, you can do more, you can do more. And then once that individual becomes a member of that team and understands that, then they learn when do I stop?
Right.
And when do I keep going?
Right.
Because we don't always win with a battering ram, right? Sometimes we win with diplomacy.
Yeah.
And so being able to understand that, and that's why the Navy SEALs, it's not just about your physical ability. It's not just about how fast you can run, how much weight you can lift. It's also about how intelligent you are.
Right.
How well you can handle tough decisions, right? Moral decisions, ethical decisions, all of those things, and do it quickly and do it confidently.
So you help train the mind also to make those mental decisions and make them faster.
Absolutely, right.
Can you tell us a little bit about that process? How do you train the mind to become faster?
Well, one of the things that you do with that is certainly it's experiential, right? And so we set up certain conditions and certain experiences so they get to practice in a relatively safe environment, doing them faster and faster and faster and faster. And we train, one of the things with Navy SEALs and with surgeons is, what are you attending to in your environment? A lot of times people attend to irrelevant information in their environment.
The noise.
And the noise, exactly. That's a great way to put it. And so when I'm attending to, or you're attending to, irrelevant information in the environment, that slows down your process. That slows down your ability to determine the best course of action, to make a decision, and so on. So one is recognizing, what am I attending to, and is it relevant to what I need to attend to, or is it irrelevant? And then being able to, sift through the noise, ignore the distractions, and focus on what's critical to my mission, what's critical to my performance right now.
Okay, so I'm envisioning this right now, like where everything else becomes black and all you see is that object you need at the end of the road.
Yep.
And getting those synapses firing and training your brain to just focus just like that on that object. So now I know working with SEALs is different with other clients, and you do work with athletes, and athletes do need a lot of mental fortitude as well. What's your favorite sport that you've worked with so far?
Oh, that's my favorite. That's a tough one. I've got quite a lot of experience with Michigan State field hockey, as we mentioned. I'm passionate about golf, so I love working with golfers. I think that is an incredibly challenging and mental game. So, if I was forced to pick one, I would probably say golf for the individual side. I know I'm not picking one, and field hockey for the team side.
All right. So now you also have a captain leadership development program. So is that a program where you're teaching the coach how to teach the captain of the team? So that's a very dynamic program. Can you explain that to us?
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the things that is often misunderstood about leadership in general is that, it is the leader the person that's the best on the field? And that's just not always the case.
Right.
Are they the person that's the most vocal? Hey, maybe they could be the most vocal, but getting the players to do the wrong thing, that's not going to be what we need. So I think a lot of times coaches are so busy that I wouldn't say they haphazardly pick a captain, but it's somebody who they think would be good, and they put the
Most popular.
the most popular, right? They put the C on their jersey, and they go from there. But it's really, what are the expectations of a captain?
Right.
What do you want them to do on the field? What do you want them to do off the field? How do you want them to do it? What are the expectations as far as communication from the coaches to the captain, from the captain to the players, and vice versa?
So that's a multi-level program. What would you say, how long would you have to commit to a program like that before they really start seeing some great results?
That's a great question, and I think it's a challenging question because it's not just we've got 3 months and they're going to be a strong captain. I wish it was that simple.
Right, because everyone's different.
Right, and it just depends on where we come in. So if it's a high school team, sometimes those things can take a little bit longer. If it's a college team, it depends on what are the relationships and how they exist right now. So what role have they identified themselves as before they become a captain? Are they the team jokester? Are they the team partier? Are they the team, I like to hang out with people before I tell them what to do kind of person, that sort of thing. So then it goes from there, and I think it's an ongoing process.
What would be one of the biggest differences you see when you're coaching like a high school student compared with a college student, compared with an adult? What are the biggest differences you see when those age ranges when you're doing performance coaching?
Well, aside from a fully developed prefrontal cortex, what we see is no. But one of the things that I see is with high school I think the biggest difference is their field of vision.
Okay.
And I mean that in a sense of perspective. High school athletes have most of the time, not always, a relatively limited perspective on things.
And you mean like perspective, not like I can see 90 degrees,
no,
perspective on life as a
perspective
whole.
on life as a whole through their experiences, because they just haven't had as many experiences as an adult has had.
Right.
Which hopefully has afforded them the ability to have a pretty broad view or pretty broad perspective.
Of the world.
Of life, of how things work, of how things don't work. So I think that's one of the challenges, and I think so with that we've got this, more with a high school student, more of a narrow approach. I tried it, it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe there's another way of doing it. Maybe there's another way of saying the exact same thing and getting the outcome that you're seeking.
Yeah.
Then as we move up into college, what you see is there's a lot going on.
Yes, pressure.
There's pressure. There's pressure to perform on the field. There's pressure to perform socially.
Right.
There's pressure to perform in the classroom.
Right.
And how do we manage all of those different pressures to still be able to maximize our ability and maximize our potential throughout all 3 or 4 different realms or 5 different realms depending on the individual? Do
you ever find that with college students sometimes you just have to get past exhaustion before you can let the mental performance even begin?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's one of the bigger inhibitors is, college students don't value sleep as much as you would like them to. And so they don't really quite understand how impactful sleep and sleep deprivation can be on performance.
Right, because I mean it really does mess with your head. It doesn't just make you physically tired, it messes with your head. You start, like, you lose the ability to focus, like you said, which is so incredibly crucial to this kind of performance training.
And your cognitive processing slows down.
Right. This is Dr. Eric Bean. He's a mental performance coach. You can find him online at getastrongmind.com, on Twitter at strongmind29, Facebook at Get a Strong Mind. And when we come back, we're going to delve into vision training for elite performance and some very interesting topics. Stay tuned. I'm your host, Elizabeth Story, and this is the San Diego Spotlight.